In this Clash of Clans video, we are going to teach you the top 5 Town Hall 12 3-star attack strategies. We will start off at number 5, move our way up to number 1, the best Town Hall 12 attack strategy, and be sure to give you tips and tricks for each and every one of them. Let's dive into it. Alrighty guys, diving straight into this, at number 5 we have the Pecker Ball Bat. Now this has been right at the top of the meta, but recent balance changes, in my opinion, has knocked it down the list, and that's why it comes in at number 5. However, some of the attacks that you will see as we move through this video did get buffs in the most recent balance change. So for the Pecker Ball Bat, it's all about choosing the right entry to the base. We actually use a sacrificial Pecker down the bottom here in order to create that funnel and then push in with the main pack. You can use the Pecker to funnel, especially in tricky areas, because they are 25 troop capacity. Your main focus is entering the base where you can maintain the pathing of the Pecker and the bowler and take out majority of the splash damage, and Yon does a fantastic job of that, pushing in straight to that town hall whilst also having the jump spell to provide access to a further multi-target inferno. This is a brilliant strategy, not just for the 3-star, but for the comfortable 2. Ensure that your wall wrecker is going to get through to that town hall, and for the clan war leagues, it can be fantastic to give yourself the safe 2-star, but the potential of the 3. However, straight up 3-star attacks, there are better strategies at Town Hall 12 in my opinion. We will move on up through the list. By the way guys, the number 1 strategy we did a video on recently, so if you do want to see that in more depth, we will be sure to link you across to it at the end. But in terms of the Pecker Ball Bat, you want to try and take out majority of the splash with the Pecker and bowler. As we've already done, there is just this area with the multi and the wizard tower. Now the bats could have came in already. I think Yon was just waiting on here. The base design means that you can, although it's tricky, pop a freeze spell in between the multi and the wizard tower, and that is where you will get most value, because for the bats it's really trying to avoid splash. That's why for the base design the Pecker and bowler took out majority of it. You could then bring in the bats along this side. I think Yon was waiting and waiting, trying to see if he didn't need them, or potentially waiting until the Pecker were in range of the multi to distract the beams, but there goes the freeze, there goes the bats to really overwhelm the end of this base, and that's why the Pecker Ball Bat is one of the top 3-star strategies. But let's move on to the next. I am reluctant to say it because this used to be one of my favourite strategies, but at number 4 we are coming in with the miners. I do feel they've taken a little bit of a hit recently, more so just because there are better strategies out there than the miners. Now all of these are just my opinion. Be sure to let me know in the comments your top 5 for the Town Hall 12. Do you agree with me? And if you want to see more Town Hall 12 videos, there is a playlist on my YouTube channel homepage, as with all of the Town Hall levels. Now we have 2 replays of the miners because they can be used in different ways. The most common is what you are seeing right now, the Queen Charge. Now that takes down a section of the base and creates pathing for the miners. For the miners, unlike a lot of other strategies, you don't have to worry about the town hall. Yes, if you can take it down, it's a bonus, but the miners can get through that. They can duck under the Giga Bomb, and they can also get away from the tornado trap. So 2 reasons you might choose the miners for your attack strategy. Another main reason, although not relevant in this attack, is the enemy queen. If potentially you are not taking her down, unlike let's say hog riders or balloons where they only target defenses, miners target everything. So if the queen is not accessible as part of your kill squad, you could still take that down with miners. What you can see is the king coming in from the northern area in order to create pathing down the left hand side. Now that is key for miners. It is all about pathing, so the king has created the funnel on the left, the queen has created the funnel on the right, allowing the miners to come straight down the middle. Now that is one of their disadvantages. In fact, you've got to be able to create the funnel on either side. whereas let's say for Hog Riders, they will target defenses, so you don't have to worry about the funnel on the opposite side. The Hog Riders bypass the cleanup, the trash buildings, and you just use cleanup troops in order to take them out afterwards. So another thing that if you're committing too many troops, perhaps you need your king over the other side, might be a reason that you do or don't use miners. The Stone Slammer comes in from the 10 o'clock section here, which is very good because it helps the miners to condense their fire onto the multi-infernos, onto the splash damage here, and that is their main threat. You need to be healing over them areas. Very rarely will you use rage spells with the miners. You might have one left over from the queen charge that potentially you can use in an area where there is huge amount of high HP buildings or huge amount of damage, and you might also have some other troops mixed in there. For example, the Hog Riders in the Stone Slammer is a very good choice because as the miners clean up any buildings, the Hog Riders can get in there and take out the defenses. Let me know if you have seen the hybrid attack strategy between the Hogs and the miners. I don't think it necessarily deserves a spot on this list, but certainly is a viable strategy. Now there was another 3-star with miners in this war that we have to show you before we move on up to attack strategy number 3. Here it is. What a beautiful miner attack this was. And by the way, guys, all of these attacks are by the very impressive Crunch Time in their CWL Elite victory over WHF. What an amazing war this was. Only 1 star in it, but Crunch Time did indeed get the victory. And you guys should be excited about this season of CWL because it has been very impressive so far. If you want to join Crunch Time, be sure to join my Discord server and you will find out everything you need to know there. Now check out this miner attack. Remember what we said about pathing for the miners. Now look at the king and queen. They create beautiful pathing over this side. The Stone Slammer, with use of a baby dragon, takes out the entire left-hand side. And notice the base now. Miners can come straight into the middle, onto the defenses, onto the Giga Tesla. Remember, the Town Hall really is not an issue for the miners. This is an attack strategy which would have never crossed my mind in terms of this base. The way it was broken down was tremendous, and I feel like I had to show you both of the miner attacks because the queen charge is the most popular to use for the miners, but this one was just incredible. If you do have a lava hound within the clan castle, then you know that miners could be a good choice because the lava hound, as long as you can keep your archer queen away from that, will not be attacking the miners, or it does very little damage. You just have to make sure that you poison that loon very, very carefully. Sometimes you might see 1 or 2 archers which pull the lava hound to the other side of the base, allowing the archer queen or the attacking archer queen to do her job. Now just look and observe what the Stone Slammer and the Baby Dragon did, and I really want you to take note of that, of really trying to break down the bases, see where you can use small amounts of troops to get huge value, and that's where you really start drilling down into these strategies and adjusting them to make them so specific that you 3-star the base with ease, as done in this case. And let's move on up to attack strategy number 3. Attack strategy number 3 is the dragons. Following the recent balance changes, they got a 300 HP buff, and it's why I think it is the 3rd best attack strategy at Town Hall 12. It works very similar to the miners in the way that the troops act. However, I just feel like there's more bases you can take out with this, especially, let's say if you get a grounded expo, or you can get to the air defense easily, you are laughing with the dragons, and they work pretty much the same as miners, so they could have been interchangeable. It was close between attack strategy number 3 and 4. I went with the dragons, and let's show you this beautiful attack. Initially, enough wall breakers not to need that freeze spell, but think about the base. Think about what we just said with miners. Remember, dragons work similar to miners in that they attack any building, so you have to create the pathing for them across any building, not just the defenses. The queen charge is phenomenal. phenomenal in this attack. Takes down the entire right hand side. Now think about what we did with the miners. We need something to take down this left hand side in order to then allow most of them in towards the town hall. So you'll see how we do that. You can use the king like you did with the miners, or you can just use some of the dragons themselves. So the queen is going to finish things off here. The dragons, as long as you can funnel their pathing into the base, can be incredibly quick. So a couple of balloons to take out the archer tower first. That checks for black bombs in that area. Potentially, if you've already had a scout attack, you will know whether there's some there. Be sure to send a loon and not to lose a 20 troop capacity dragon. And you will see that the two dragons on the left hand side are used to create a funnel in itself for the main pack of dragons to come in towards the town hall. Now for the dragons, they are incredibly powerful, especially given the HP buff. However, the town hall, if you do not hit it early on, if the dragons are low in health, they will go down incredibly fast. So if you can, when you are scouting the bases, you're thinking about that pathing, if you can hit the town hall early, you definitely want to try and do that with dragons. If you come from the opposite side, even if pathing is tremendous, you might struggle towards the end. The Grand Warden's ability can be very helpful through that, as well as rage and heal spells, freeze spells, sorry. Heal spells can be useful for dragons in certain areas, especially if there's a lot of high HP buildings, for instance storages in the middle of the base to get through, but you don't tend to see that in war. You tend to see that more in Legends League, where the dragons are getting hung up on one spot for a particular time. That is when you would use the heal spell. However, rage and freeze will be your best friends for the dragons. Despite a recent nerf in them balance changes, the Hog Riders still come into my list at number 2. They are just so powerful. Whether you use the Kill Squad, the Queen Charge, or the Sui method, you can take down a huge amount of bases. The example we have here is the Queen Charge, because in my opinion, it is the best initial phase to any attack right now. The Queen at level 65 is brilliant, and it is one of them high risk, high reward, high skill cap style strategies. And many people ask in the comments, what is a Lava Hound doing in the clan castle? It is all about slowing down the Queen Charge. So if you don't particularly come up against this, then it might be that your opponents aren't seeing a lot of Queen Charge, therefore they don't need to defend against it. If you are Queen Charging though, just know that the Lava Hound is going to take some time. You've got to be wary of what defenses will be shooting on your Queen, and do think about sending a minion in towards the lava pups. Not used in this example, but not necessarily needed. The Queen is going to be able to charge forward and take down not only the clan castle troops, but the enemy Queen and the town hall. They are the three most important things for Hog Rider attacks, not to mention, I forgot there, the Eagle Artillery. So all four of the main things are literally standing together here. We get the Queen into that area, she takes the town hall, the clan castle, the Queen, and the Eagle Artillery. The next biggest thing is the King. Any Inferno Towers, any splash damage you can get is great. The King should try and go down as well, but sometimes you can take him out with, let's say, your King, or you can power past him if you just have so many Hog Riders, but pathing is huge. So notice how the Hog Riders are pathed straight into the base here. Now, one of the reasons that Hogs might have been used instead of Miners are the defenses on the outside. Remember what we said about Miners and having to create that funnel on the opposite side? That gets even more difficult if there's defenses sitting out there. If there's only trash buildings, you can just power your troops down there, but if there are defenses, it can sometimes be tricky. So you can send the Hog Riders in that area, and plus, like we said, if you can take down the heroes, the King, the Queen, the Town Hall, so the Miners don't have to dip under it, you don't really get any advantages of the Miners. So the Hog Riders taking down the defenses early on, not worrying about the other side of the funnel, and purely using cleanup troops is why they are a better choice. But you have to be able to take out them other things first. If not, you might want to consider Miners. So the time has come to move on to the best attack strategy at Town Hall 12. So let's go ahead and let's dive across into it with more brilliant attacks by crunch time. The best Town Hall 12 attack strategy, the number one, is still the Lavaloon in my opinion. It's very powerful, but you need to be very skilled at it, and that is where really we see the difference in players. There's a number of different ways to do this, and I did do a video recently featuring Crunch Time where we broke down this attack specifically, so I will be sure to send you across to that after this one, but let's break it down by FC Jonas, using the wall breakers and the freeze spell against the multi-inferno. If that multi is within range of the wall breakers, because it has a number of different prongs, it can take them out. So make sure you're freezing it if you don't have enough troops to distract the multi first. That ensures that you will break into that area, and look at the value we can get here. It's very similar to the Hog Riders, but the Town Hall, I would say, is a little bit less of a pivotal thing to get with your queen charge. The main focus is the enemy queen, although still none of these are fixed in place. As long as you can get value and create pathing, then you can take just about anything, because you can freeze multis, you can haste through them, you can skelly the queen, you can do a number of different things. It really is just where you get the most value and pathing. But similar to the hogs, the queen is a must. You don't have to worry about the king actually, because he's not going to attack your balloons, but any splash, multi-infernos, eagle. Notice that all of the multis go down once we have the help of the stone slammer onto this final one, and we are attacking the eagle early on. If not, it's going to continue shredding your balloons. You have to be surgical with the Lalo, even more so than the hogs. The hogs you can kind of bring in one fashion, but the balloons you have to hit a number of defenses on the outside, as the balloons are just so slow. They will take down that defense, and then you want them to clump together. You also have to ensure they clump over the town hall, and you have to ensure you have that Grand Warden's ability in order to get through the Giga Bomb. Now moving through to the final portion of the raid, this is where the balloons will be clumping up, but it is okay. You almost want that as they are starting to go down. What you want to try and do is ensure that balloons get one shot on a defense and it goes down. If you only have one balloon on it, then you don't get the maximum benefit of the loon. It does its most damage when it first gets there, so you want enough balloons onto the defense to one-shot it and take it out. Any wizard towers you come to on the back end of the base, make sure that you're either distracting that with more balloons on the back end, or you're freezing it, or you're hasting onto it so that you don't lose all your balloons to splash. So that is the top 5 Town Hall 12 attacks. Let me know if you agree, but if you want to see the queen charge into Lavaloon, this number 1 attack in more depth, more replays, more breakdown, be sure to check out this video. It is very helpful for you guys, but that wraps it up. Until next time, peace out.